Hello again, everybody. I'm Miss Davis, and today we're going to discuss animal organization and homeostasis. Animals exhibit a biological organization that begins with the cell, which is the basic unit of all living things. A group of specialized cells working together is called a tissue. There are 4 types of tissue: epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous. We'll talk more about these in a little bit. An organ contains various types of tissues working together. Some examples include the kidney, heart, intestines, liver, and so on. Several organs working together are called an organ system, such as the urinary system, circulatory system, and digestive system, just to name a few. You will be presenting the different body systems to the class on the discussion board for this unit. When all the organ systems are working together properly, we have an organism. So these are the levels of organization in animals. Now we are going to take a closer look at these types of tissue. Epithelial tissue is known as epithelium. The tissue covers body surfaces and lines body cavities. The general function of the epithelial tissue is protective, but some allow for things like secretion or absorption. So they might secrete hormones or absorb things like your intestines. Epithelial cells are held together by 3 types of junctions. Tight junctions form a zipper-like fastening between cells. These junctions between cells of the intestines prevent digestive juices from leaking into the abdominal cavity. Adhesion junctions hold cells together and allow for stretching to take place. These junctions are important in organs like the bladder. Okay, so it allows to stretch as it fills with urine, or the stomach after you eat a meal. The last type of junctions are called gap junctions. These junctions form between membranes of adjacent cells where they actually share parts of their cytoplasm, so they can communicate through this channel back and forth. All epithelium cells are anchored on a basement membrane. So they're anchored onto this basement membrane. The basement membrane is 2 thin layers of proteins that hold the epithelial tissue to connective tissue. Now, epithelial tissue is classified by arrangement of cells and also the cell shapes. There are 3 basic shapes of epithelial cells. First, they're squamous. These are flattened cells. Cuboidal, which of course form cubes, and columnar, which are oblong and look like columns. They are also going to be looked at on their arrangement. A single layer of epithelial cells is called simple. Multiple layers are called stratified, and sometimes a single layer looks like multiple layers, and so we call it a pseudo stratified. Pseudo meaning false. So it looks like it's multiple layers, but it's really not. Now, here are some examples. You can see simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple columnar, but then you can also see stratified of each: stratified squamous, stratified cuboidal, and then the columnar ones are the ones that normally form the pseudo stratified because they're longer and so they can look like there's multiple layers. And then over here you can see transitional, where they're transitioning between flat, cuboidal, and columnar. Also here, guys, you can see where these are going to mostly be found. If you see the simple squamous, they line blood vessels and air sacs of the lungs. Simple cuboidal are going to line kidneys, the kidney tubules, and the glands. Simple columnar are going to line the digestive organs. So you can see in this picture where you have the different types. Stratified squamous is going to be like your skin or inside your mouth. Stratified cuboidal is going to line ducts and sweat glands. Stratified columnar is going to line the epididymis, mammary glands, larynx. Larynx is going to be here. Okay, so these are going to have just different locations based on also their structure and their shape. The second type of tissue is called connective tissue, and it's the most abundant type in the body. It performs a variety of functions, therefore it has a variety of structures. It can bind structures together like we see with tendons and ligaments. It can support and protect like bones. It can be used to store fat as seen in adipose tissue. And last, it can transport like we see in blood. Connective tissue is composed of living cells that are widely separated by what we call matrix. The matrix is a non-living portion that contains protein fibers. The matrix can be solid, semi-solid, or a fluid. So let's look at each of these types. First, we have loose fibrous connective tissue. These have living cells called fibroblasts, and they produce a matrix made out of fibers of collagen and elastic fibers. So these are going to help with kind of stretching a little bit. It has space between its components and occurs beneath the skin and most epithelial layers. Loose fibrous connective tissue supports and binds organs, so it's going to help hold those organs in place. Adipose tissue also contains fibroblasts, which enlarge to store fat, like you see here in the picture. There is a limited matrix in this connective tissue, and these occur, of course, beneath the skin and around the heart and other organs. Adipose function to store fat. They also help with insulation, and they offer protection to these organs as well. Dense fibrous connective tissue also contains fibroblasts, but they produce large amounts of collagen fibers, which are going to be packed more closely together. This tissue occurs in the dermis of the skin and also makes up ligaments. Now, ligaments connect bones to bones, and tendons, which connect muscles to bones. Dense fibrous connective tissue functions in support. Cartilage has cells called chondrocytes. These lie in small chambers and are separated by matrix that is more solid but flexible. The most common type of cartilage is called hyaline cartilage. It is located in the nose, at the ends of your long bones, like the ends of your femur or your humerus, also your ribs, and it forms rings of the walls of your respiratory passages. It provides support as well as protection. Now, bone is the most rigid connective tissue, with a matrix composed of inorganic salts such as calcium salts. And this is going to be deposited around collagen fibers. The cells that make up bone tissue are called osteocytes, which are located in what we call concentric circles or rings. Again, the function is for support and protection. The last type of connective tissue is the blood. The blood is composed of several types of cells that are suspended in a liquid matrix called the plasma. The blood transports nutrients and oxygen to cells and removes waste and carbon dioxide from the cells. Other components of blood protect against disease. Others provide the ability of clotting in order to prevent the loss of fluid. Erythrocytes are red blood cells that carry oxygen and carbon dioxide, so they're going to transport substances. White blood cells, on the other hand, are part of the immune system, and they're going to help protect against diseases. And then last are the platelets, and these are pieces of cells that are going to help plug damaged blood vessels to stop bleeding. Muscular tissue can contract and is responsible for movement. There are three types of muscular tissue we're going to discuss: skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. These differ in their location, their structure, and also their function. Skeletal muscles are called voluntary muscles and are attached to your bones by tendons. They allow you to move your skeleton, and you have conscious control over them. They are composed of striated cells, meaning they have a striped appearance, and they contain multiple nuclei. Okay, they have more than one nucleus. Cardiac muscles are found only in the walls of the heart, and when they contract, they will be pumping blood. Cardiac muscles are branched. They're also striated, so they have the stripes, and they have a single nucleus. Contractions of these muscles is what we call autorhythmic and involuntary, so that has a rhythm, and that's what creates the heartbeat. Smooth muscles are named because they lack those striations, so they do not have the stripes. They have spindle-shaped cells that contain a single nucleus. This type of muscle is located in blood vessels and also the walls of the digestive system. They aid in moving blood in your vessels and also food through your digestive system. These are also considered involuntary, and they contract more slowly than the other types of muscles. The last type of tissue is the nervous tissue, which coordinates body activities through electrical impulses. It is found in the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. The cells that make up the nervous tissue are called neurons. Neurons can be sensory, where they actually collect information, or they can be motor, where they perform a function, which is going to respond to the stimulus. Neurons have dendrites that collect the information. a cell body which contains their nucleus, and an axon that transmits the signal to the next cell, whether that cell be another nerve, whether it's a muscle, or it could even be a gland to cause it to secrete something. There are also neuroglia cells that act as nursemaids. They actually help the neurons, they help protect them, and they help take care of them, and this is going to help support them and keep them healthy. Each organ has a different combination of these tissues to form unique structures so that they can perform specific functions. When organs work together, they form organ systems. So an organ here, you can see the skin, and you can see how it has all of the different tissues present. All organ systems are involved in maintaining homeostasis. Homeostasis is the stability of the body's internal environment. The control systems of the body are the nervous system and the endocrine system, and the endocrine system is the hormone system. Now you'll see that the hormone system is different in males and females based on the sex hormones that are produced. The systems involved in motor activity and also protection are the integumentary system, which is the skin, which you see here, the skeletal system, which is the bones, and the muscular system, which is the muscles. The transport systems include the cardiovascular system, which you see here with the heart and the blood vessels, and the lymphatic system. Now the lymphatic system, guys, works on collecting fluid that leaks out from your cells and returning it back to your circulatory system. The lymph system will also have a lot of white blood cells in it and help with fighting diseases as well with the immune system. The maintenance systems include the digestive system, the respiratory system, which is for breathing, and the urinary system, which of course gets rid of waste with your kidneys and your bladder. Last, the reproductive system is its own group. Okay, it's just for reproduction. And again, this is going to be different in males and females. You will be completing an assignment over the components and basic functions of each of these systems. You will also be teaching each other about these systems in discussion board number 3. All of these body systems are working to maintain homeostasis. When homeostasis is disrupted, the body can return to homeostasis through 2 ways. So you can see here, see how homeostasis can be tilted one way or the other. Well, it needs to be returned back to normal. Well, the first way is through a negative feedback system. Negative feedback mechanisms reverse a change so the conditions are returned back to normal. Here's an example of a negative feedback system with body temperature. So if the body temperature is below normal or you get too cold, your sensory neurons pick it up. It goes to your brain. Your brain decides, well, we need to warm up. So it causes your blood vessels to constrict, bringing blood back towards your core. Okay, it causes your sweat glands to be inactivated, and it can even make your muscles start to shiver, which generates heat, returning your body temperature back to normal. On the other hand, if your body gets too hot, the sensory organs send it to the control center of the brain, and your responses are the blood vessels dilating in order to lose heat, also sweating. Okay, that takes place to help you remove your heat. Okay, so those are negative feedbacks trying to return it back to normal. Positive feedback mechanisms are not very common, but women have more of them than men. Positive feedback mechanisms make the problem worse before it is corrected. An example of this is childbirth. So as the head of the fetus or the baby pushes against the cervix, the nerves send it to the brain that says, hey, it's time to have this baby. The brain then releases a hormone called oxytocin. Oxytocin is carried back to the uterus and causes contractions to be stronger, causes them to be harder, which then pushes the fetus against the cervix more. So it continues to do this until the baby is born. Once the baby is born, then of course it's going to return it back to normal. So this is a positive feedback. It intensifies it and makes it worse before it gets better. Now this concludes our lecture, which is the tissues. It's also going to be our last lecture that I am presenting for this unit. So please make sure that you complete the body systems assignment. Now don't freak out about it being that many chapters. You do not have to study those chapters in detail, but you do need to look at the basic structures and the basic functions of each system. So good luck on discussion board 3 and also your unit 3 exam. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know.